Hi, this is Joe Thompson again. This is a presentation, a quick demonstration of our next project, which is the OurFallen project. So we started when we saw a project from Felixstowe. Felixstowe had researched all of the residents who had died in the two world wars and actually created a spreadsheet with all of their information on, including where they lived. And then what they did is they grouped it in terms of the street, in this case Constable Road, and actually put these signs on the various street lights in that particular street. And so it would say William Cotton lived at number 22 over there, George Ramsay lived just over there at number 7. And it struck us when we saw this that this was a fascinating way of bringing history to life, because these people left that building, left that front door that you're looking at all those years ago and never came back. So they were lost to the community. And it got us thinking, wouldn't it be great if we could do something similar for Lowestoft? And when we started to look into it, we realised that those records just didn't exist. They were incomplete and sometimes conflicting. So we started by working with the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, who were kind enough to give us all the information they had on Lowestoft. We started by saying, can we have all of the records that mention the keyword Lowestoft? So obviously we got things like Lowestoft Road, Norwich, for instance. So we got rid of those false positives and actually started to actually go back to primary sources and created a spreadsheet based on all those fields that we got. And actually research made sure that we knew where they actually lived, what their address was, and then we imported that into a new website, and this was the result. So this is the OurFallen website. And we start by highlighting randomly four of the people on the website. We have 2,050 now. And as I say, our aim is to celebrate their life, not just simply record the death. So we move on from there. We try and bring it to life by actually highlighting an aspect. So you've got known as Teddy, was 25, he was a lighter man. So people can click on there. Many roads were deeply affected by bombings in the First and Second World War. So therefore, we've got a featured street. These change each time you visit. But the next aspect is key to our commitment to make sure that these digital resources are available for decades to come. So what we realised was that we wanted to be able to use online, international and national archives to be able to store this so it's available for future generations. So what we did was we went to webarchive.org and actually imported and saved our particular site. But what we then found was that the search facilities that we use so much, which goes off to the database and pulls back different people, just simply wouldn't work. So what we did is we redesigned our whole site to have this aspect to it. So although we list below all of the 2,050 people on the website, this enables us to go to a particular surname begins. So we'll say in this case G. So we're using webarchive.org here, and this will exist for decades to come, even if our website happened to close down, which I'm convinced it won't. So if we come down like this, we can see all the G's here. And if we choose one at random, Edward Garrett, he was naval, died in 1917 and was the skipper of the HM trawler Clifton. So let's click on that. It's not the fastest, but that doesn't much matter as long as the archive is actually there. You can see as he's naval, but we also list army, civilians, and Air Force as well. So all these can be sorted in many different ways. You can also see that we say email re Edward. So that gives people a very easy way to be able to click on a link and actually send us extra information like pictures, etc. What we've got while we're waiting for it to capture. Oh, there we go. No, that's super. Okay, so this is all the information we have on Edward Garrett. You can see we have photographs as well. And if we click on the picture, for instance, you can see we have the high resolution pictures as well. So that's all saved separate to what we're doing. But if we go back to our actual site, and here, the key way you use it is you can actually simply put in a surname, or it could be vehicle or vessel, whatever. You can search on many different fields. So in this case, we'll go Howe, and we'll choose Doris Howe, who was a civilian. And Doris was 17 when she died in an air raid in 1942. Now, the reason we know that is that on the right-hand side, you can see that because it's a relational database, she died on the 13th of January 1942, as did all of these other people. So if you look to the on this right-hand side, you've got a green line on this one. You've got a brown line on this one. Green is Navy, brown is Army, but these white ones tell you they're civilians. So on this day, many, many civilians died, and it was because they were all involved in the Waller raid, which was one of the most damaging raids we had as far as effects on civilians were concerned. But if we just go around the different aspects of a typical page, so we have information that we've pulled from the primary source Commonwealth War Graves Commission, but we've turned those into sentences so it's more readable. And if we click here, we would go back to the Commonwealth War Graves Commission key page on this particular information about Doris Howe. Right-hand side, if people have got extra information, they can simply click on this link and it will email those details to us. We've talked about the also died, but also if we go further down, she was 17, and on the database we have 29 others who were also 17, and it highlights the power of this particular relational database, because what we realized was over half of the 2,000 people who have died, residents of Lowestoft who died in the First and Second World War, over half of them were under 25. So we can learn about people like that. So Doris was in Fir Lane, as were all these other ones, and you've got a couple of interesting ones here, which is Victor Longthorne and Arthur George. When we first did this, I thought I might have made a mistake, but in fact what it was Victor Longthorne left that building in 1943, closed the front door of number 12 and never came back. But previously, Arthur George in 1915 had also left number 12 and also never came back, both of which left big gaps in their community. But it's by doing these relational database linkages that we find out more information. And as you see, we allow comments, so we're very keen to get people involved in the website. If we go further back up here, we can see here that the black writing is information that we've been able to take back to primary sources, but we're also keen to get community and relatives involvement. So this, as you can see, is a memory from Janice Kirby, and this was saying that she was my father's sister. So it's great to have those sort of linkages as far as that goes. So if we look further up, so that's a typical record, of which we've now got 2,050. But another key aspect, because we know all of the addresses of these people, is the maps. So if we go to here, we found that we couldn't even fit all of the 2,000 pins on one map, so we've had to slice it up and actually put it on 3 different maps, which is quite poignant in itself, as there were so many casualties as far as Lowestoft was concerned. So this is taking all of those people and putting them on maps. So if we zoom in, you can see the number of people who were affected, were killed in the 2 world wars. And I've clicked on one there. If we zoom in just a little bit, you can see this is the Bird's Eye Factory, but the reason they're all listed here is that this is the site of 3 lost streets that are no longer there, but obviously we know where they were, so we can place points as far as that goes. So I'd say we can choose any particular one, but if we choose Charles Leonard Fitt, he was from Eden Street, and you can see that he was with the Royal Fusiliers, of which there were 18 of those. And there was another 2 from Eden Street as well, sorry, including himself. But also you're able to click on this locality map, And that shows you all the people who were around that sort of area. So possibly neighbours, but not necessarily in the same street. And finally, if we go back up, we've been working with schools as far as these projects are concerned. And if we go back to maps, you can put in a postcode. So for instance, what that enables you to do is put in the address of a school or a street and actually see all of the casualties within a third of a mile radius, which means if it was a school, you'd be able to say, these are the people who probably you walk past their residences on the way to school. So we've tried to be as inclusive as possible and involving other streets in this particular project. We hope that this is a good template that others can use, and we look forward to hearing what people think of it.